Your computer needs terabytes of storage to hold a single game, but the US nuclear weapons force holds less than a single text message, and it's still running on 8-inch floppy disks. This plastic square, holding barely enough data for a single low-res photo, should have died years ago. Yet the floppy disk still boots machines operating at the highest levels of global security. But why would the highest security defense systems in the world rely on a 1976-era IBM Series 1 computer? The answer is about failure, not speed. You will see the million-dollar machines still run by nearly obsolete spinning plastic. We'll trace the floppy's surprising origin story, how it evolved into the IT, and the bizarre reason two critical industries, one industrial, one military, are ensuring it never truly goes away. The floppy disk wasn't invented for storage, but for service. Back in 1969, work began on the world's first floppy disk at an IBM facility in San Jose. They needed a cheap, flexible way to load the computer's muscle memory, the essential basic instructions, onto their massive, room-sized mainframes. Before this, they used costly punch cards. The solution developed by Alan Shugart's team was the format, about the size of a dinner plate. This disk, first introduced in 1981, stored approximately 1 megabyte of data, and you couldn't even save your own files onto it yet. It was simply a better way to install updates and run diagnostics. The floppy disk was originally designed as a computer maintenance tool, not for you to store your homework. It took shrinkage to unlock the consumer market. In 1976, the smaller, more flexible format arrived. This made the floppy accessible for early home computers like the Apple II and Commodore PET, achieving double-density capacities up to 8.94 megabytes. But the real game changer came in 1983. Sony introduced the hard-shelled 3.5-inch, the version most people remember. The key was Sony's simple piece of metal, the protective sliding metal shutter. When the magnetic surface of the disk wasn't being used, the shutter protected the fragile data layer. This rigid casing made the media robust and portable, creating the ultimate standard. Floppy capacity slowly grew, up to the final consumer capacity of 1.44 megabytes, which defined an entire generation of computer use. But physical limits quickly doomed the floppy for most of us. Storing data on tiny iron oxide particles, essentially pieces of rust, meant speeds were slow and capacity was tiny. By the 90s, high-capacity competitors arrived. The iOmega zip drive and the End of SuperDisk, which could store vastly more data, made the floppy look antique. The SuperDisk used laser tracking and was even able to read older floppies. Technically, it should have won the format war. When Apple removed the drive from its new computers in 1998, the consumer countdown began. Eventually, Sony manufactured its last new floppy disks in 2010. If you like watching your body's wiring get exposed like this, stick around. We do this every week. So why is it still around? The floppy survived because industrial machines are built to last or more. Think of them like a specialized vintage car that needs one specific old type of gasoline to run. Older factory equipment, including specialized computer-controlled tools like tool pathing and embroidery systems, still require the floppy for programming. We know newer, bigger disks existed, but the true reason they failed to unseat them has to do with how specialized factory machinery is built. Their internal connections, or legacy hardware interfaces, are hard-coded to recognize only the floppy reader. Replacing the reader requires replacing the entire proprietary control board, an enormous expense manufacturers simply refuse to bear. The specialized factory tools rely entirely on the format because their physical connections haven't changed in decades. This is why the failure of technically superior formats, like the zip drive, ensures the floppy disk still dominates legacy machines. Even more shocking than factory floors is the floppy disk's presence in critical transport and military systems. When critical flight navigation data is updated on the Boeing 747 jet, the updates are loaded via a floppy disk. You may have flown on a plane that uses a floppy disk for its critical flight systems. And then there are the nuclear weapon systems. The Department of Defense systems that coordinate intercontinental ballistic missiles and associated air support aircraft run on the IBM Series 1 computer, using COBOL. Why? Reliability. As Pentagon spokeswoman Lieutenant Colonel Valerie Henderson put it, quote, "When failure is absolutely not an option, the old tech is the safest tech. The simple, proven system is failure-proof." Furthermore, the floppy disk was still such a stubborn piece of technology that Barack Obama had to publicly declare war on it just to get the government to modernize. The floppy disk is a case study in technological inertia. When a cheap, reliable, and standardized piece of hardware gets embedded deep into critical infrastructure, especially infrastructure built for life or death reliability, its low capacity stops mattering. It is simply too vital to retire. If you want to see another iconic piece of tech that refused to die, check out our video on the surprising staying power and cultural dominance of the PlayStation 2.